Well, here we are back in the wizardry world of J.K. Rowling. Ah, Fantastic Beast, The Secrets of Dumbledore. Before I start out this review, a few things I have to say. Last week I did mention that I had computer problems that I was not sure if I was gonna be it's gonna have the things ready. Well, here are the good news and small bad news. The good news is that the whole thing process went fast. It really there. I think that the real problem was that my hard disk was pretty much in bad health. Maybe that was the biggest reason why it was blue screening. So the technicians couldn't find exactly. So according to my experiences and from what I said, everything was all the other things was fine except for the hard disk. So I had to replace it at least. I replaced the hard disk, but this time giving it a little bit of an upgrade this time. It's not a hard disk this time. Now it's an SSD drive, and additionally, of course, it is that of 500 gigs that it came before. Now it has 1 terabyte. So basically, now I got 2 terabytes worth on my computer. 1 terabyte for programs and games, and another terabyte for the usual stuff. So now I got a pretty packed computer. But the bad news, of course, comes that now I'm beginning to notice that sometimes at random when the new SSD drive is working hard, like for example, doing some override or some installations, downloads, or anything like that. Apparently, it makes kind of like this noise that it goes like almost like I don't know. The best way I can describe it is kind of like a small airplane engine. I don't know if it's the SSD drive or maybe the guy didn't install well, the how can I say, the fans, or maybe it was a little bit too overpowered. Additionally, of course, because of the new Windows stuff, my Wi-Fi, in my internal Wi-Fi, sometimes it randomly disconnects. That almost never happened to my computer, except for, how can I say, the first days I had it. I don't know, it's probably a bad update or something like that. I'll see what it is, but still in the meantime I can connect with Ethernet, which makes it work fine. But still I will say that it's a good thing that I'm not having blue screen problems right now. So at the moment, I'm still doing fine with these things. I'm a little bit, shy with, on doing things, taking it slowly to check out that there are no problems and everything. You know how sometimes I get very careful with that. And with that said, let's get on with, of course, Fantastic Beast. It's been many years since I saw the last Fantastic Beast movies, and I even barely remember those movies. I only saw them once, and that's it. And it didn't give me kind of like the drive to revisit them, I'll say. Although, don't get me wrong, I like the Harry Potter stuff. Last year, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter store had opened here in New York. As you can see, I even bought this dragon with which you see that I put Spencer there. Kind of cute, I'll say. But either way, I'm not exactly, I will say, kind of like the biggest Harry Potter fan, but I will say that I was kind of like the biggest admirer to it. I did watch all the movies involved in it. To make it a little bit like a quick rundown, even though I don't remember if I said that on the previous Fantastic Beast movies. I will say that I loved the first two, the one with Chris Columbus directed. it set the right tone with it. And then, of course, up to the third movie and so on, the direction kind of changed. Even though the books were also having had this change of being kind of like a very family-friendly classical wizard fantasy story. See, my computer is whistling right now. I don't know if you hear it, but so bear with it until I finally find a solution to it. But anyway, I was really hooked on to this world. Read the books, the movies again. The more the story got darker, even the tone got darker. But not only the tone, but also kind of like the colors, the whimsy, and all these things. They just got drained, I'll say. And the director became a little bit kind of like more in the adult side, and they kept some elements that make it quirky, but I didn't exactly like the kind of like the color tones that it went. It kind of like the colors kind of phased out the more the movies went on and on. Almost like Christopher Nolan or Zack Snyder, the best way I could describe it. This is something that I got a problem with most WB Warner Brothers movies nowadays, that they think that everything has to be, dark and moody, and in some cases works, some cases it doesn't, and most of those Harry Potter films, it kind of drained that magic that it kind of promised. And then we got the Fantastic Beasts movies, which is kind of like a prequel / spin-off to keep on the rise of this. And honestly, I admit that as much as I don't remember them much, I do remember that I thought the first movie was fine. I liked the first movie. I liked where it was going. Going at least in exploration. And honestly, I kind of wish that it just kept kind of like a standalone film. But unfortunately, they decided to go with the next movie, which is of course the Crimes of Grindelwald. Boy, that was kind of like a big misstep, I would say. And of course, before we came with the movie, I will say that behind the scenes is a catastrophe, I'll say. Just putting down IMDb because I don't remember most names. But yeah, what a catastrophe before that movie came out. First of all, it's about the actors playing Grindelwald. I don't know what Colin Farrell did in the first movie in order to get the boot, and then replaced by Johnny Depp. And then Johnny Depp got the boot because of the whole Amber Heard thing, and now he got replaced by, what was the name? Mads Mikkelsen, I'll say. I'll get to that, but man, just in case I know about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing, I know that at the point I'm talking in this, he and this woman are now on trial. It's a big catastrophe that I'm not gonna get too much into detail with that. But let's say that it's a giant circus with that. There's also another actor who Ezra Miller. Recently he got toxic violent, and now he's in hot water. Honestly, I wasn't a fan of this guy. I thought that him playing the Flash sucks. Even he sucks on Justice League. What was it? The Snyder Cut. I don't know how. I don't care how many people still praise that one. I don't care a bit. And also, of course, there's the J.K. Rowling going against doing all those Twitters with it, that she is kind of like anti-transgender and all of these things. Pretty much political stuff that, again, this is not exactly the time and the place to talk about this. But I still had to mention a little bit of that, considering that these are technically elements that basically affect the expectations, the resolve, the public opinion of this fantastic Beast movies. And basically that is gonna actually damage the whole thing. I don't know if this movie was also a delayed production because of the COVID, but all these things that I talked to you was pretty much not helping the case on this movie's believability, or I will say public interest out of it. Probably during the second movie things are waning, but I will mostly blame that the movie felt like it kind of didn't care. If they could like I said, if the movie could have been a little bit more vibrant, like the Chris Columbus movies, instead of, how can I say, moody and all these things. Okay, you could keep the kind of like the dark stuff and all this stuff, but maybe if visually could have been a little bit more stunning. Maybe it could hold out a little bit better, but that will be subjective. But yeah, the first movie was the first Fantastic Beast. I like where it was going. The second movie was very forgettable, I'll say. And now that I've seen the third movie, mostly because I'm a curious person and a cinephile and all these things, and I absolutely didn't like it. That movie was a total boring experience. And if you thought that Morbius was pretty bad, it's on the same boat of this. It's gonna have the same boat as this movie. It's very boring. But for me, this Fantastic Beast, The Secret of Dumbledore, is mostly sad because this is it's kind of like a franchise that I had kind of like a small support with it. But to see this unpassionate drive, a very loveless film, I can't say much how I support it. And it doesn't even help that I barely remember the other movies. I haven't even gave myself the time to revisit it. And if the movie doesn't drive me to revisit them, that's pretty much bad news. Probably I might feel revisiting the first one, but then there's a second one. But the second one is probably, left it alone, like it never existed, because it wouldn't matter. Still, the first one, it feels like it worked on its own, kind of like its own spin-off. But no, you just have to put Fantastic Beasts in order, to know that, oh yeah, this is part of the Fantastic Beasts and all this thing. When I am pretty sure that there are more stories involving the wizardry world and all these things. That was and it's funny that I've been hearing that this movie is tanking on the box office. When I went there was kind of like a fair amount of people in there, but still, it doesn't excuse that I was pretty much bored out of my mind and really the only things that kept me a little bit awake is just trying to figure out, yeah, that's part of the lore. I kind of remember that. Who's that character? I even forgot some of the characters except for Newt Scamander and Jacob Kowalski, which probably they were actually the heart of the first movie. But in this case, of course, they just wanted. Ever since the second movie, they just wanted to concentrate on the wizard battle between Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and of course their homosexual romance that they have. Something this is something that is not with good intentions by some audiences, especially the Chinese, in which apparently they do have kind of like this homophobic culture. I'm not trying to, slam them or anything like that, because this is not my problem. It's their problem. Although I do have a little bit of a problem that they use the snippy censored scissors to cut out anything that is gay related, but it's not out of politics, but more like an artistic pride for these terms. So anyway, let's start out a little bit with the story of the third movie, and I'll give it my best to remember them, because if you remember, the second movie kind of stayed out Grindelwald, that he just became. I think he became free. He even recruited the Ezra Miller character, and also the girlfriend of Jacob Kowalski, the girl named Queenie. She also go to well, for lack of better word, the dark side. And of course, there was kind of like this evil plan to make going against the Muggles. If you don't remember or someone is new, Muggle is the wizard term for people without magic. And Kowalski's one of them. So what do we have in this movie? In this movie, they kind of like this plot in which Grindelwald apparently manipulated the Ministry of Magic in order to have him, how can I say, exonerated from all his crimes, so he can go into politics. Nice. It's like pardoning Charles Manson and let him become the president of the United States. So anyway, there's this elections, and in order to ensure that he gets this presidency power over the Ministry of Magic, he decides to rig the elections, in which there's no democracy in it. What they do is that they pick up this mythical creature called the chilling or the Kiring, or whatever you want to mention it. They take a baby Chirin, in which these are creatures that are so pure-hearted that they bow in the presence of someone who has a pure heart or a pure soul, and since they can see the future, just like Grindelwald said that he has the power to see the future. But anyway, these creatures are kind of like the basis to they're the basis to choose kind of like this presidential election. So Grindelwald, what did he do? Well, he decides to kidnap probably one of those elected Chirin in order to kill that baby. Yes, that's right, kill it. Dark arts. Remember that he's a dark wizard, and of course use his necromancy in order to rig it. And at the same time, he wants to plan an assassination, and due to that, it is up to Dumbledore and Newt Scamander and his people in order to stop him, stop the assassination, stop the rigged election and all these things. And at the same time, Dumbledore, coming into terms, with his lost romance, because he can't kill him due to this blood oath that they mentioned in the last movie, I'll say. Whew. So basically, the closest thing to a fantastic creatures is the chilling or the killing, whatever you say. To make it clear, and I do a little bit of a research since I love the mythology of creatures and demonology. I'll say, shilling is basically a fantastical mythical creature in which it is originated from Asia, which basically is kind of like this draconian creature, almost similar to a giraffe, that is linked to royalty. It says that one gets born when a king is born. That's pretty much what I can remember. But yeah, these are creatures that are based on royalty, and they wanted to apply it into this movie. That's basically kind of like the story. And as much as I try to tell you how it goes, the whole plot feels simple. I mentioned it trying to tell you in simple way, but there's a lot of convolution into what it wanted to be. The focus was supposed to be about this shilling and of course this presidential or ministry kidnapping because of the charm of Grindelwald, despite he's being even a known criminal. But then, kind of like the movie derails in many subplots that involve, of course, Dumbledore with the relationship with the Ezra Miller character that is revealed that is his nephew. There's also the Kowalski trying to bring back Queenie to her senses, and the wizard technically used him, trying to stop an assassination that Grindelwald was planning, and then they're gonna plot all the form these pieces together and how they're gonna stop all this, kind of a little bit kind of like a heist film. It even kind of derails with Newt trying to rescue his brother. Man, that it drags on and on and on and on, and the movie goes slow. Although it's kind of like 2 hours, 20 minutes, which honestly I'm kind of used to these long movies nowadays, but you can tell that it gets very tiring when you see a lot of dull colors. I'll get to that. I already talked about it, and I might go again when I was with the cinematography. So I was like, okay. Acting. The acting is not Fantastic Four bad. You know that the actors are trying, but honestly, I don't feel like the actors wanted to be there. They feel like they're just doing it out of commitment. And it's sad because they wanted to establish Eddie Redmayne as the main character of the franchise, but he was kind of like barely there. You could even take him out and it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. He just does so little, except by and his subquest about rescuing his brother for after he gets captured and then sent to this dungeon, which I'll get to that later. And of course the shilling thing. He finds it and he fails to protect it. And I did forget to mention that this baby shilling was killed. Even the mother was killed, kind of like Bambi. Grindelwald didn't realize that the mother actually had a twin. So they used the opportunity to use that twin to keep it preserved in the until the right moment. I forgot to mention that part. It kind of makes this movie's kind of like draining out of my mind the more I go into it. And there's also kind of like this guy who's kind of like who infiltrates itself like a spy to Grindelwald, but it was poorly executed for a surprise or anything. Okay, continuing with the act, how can I say that, the acting. Eddie Redmayne, he tried, but it wasn't like that. Jude Law as Albus Dumbledore, he's doing fine. All the actors are doing fine. Honestly, I will say that the most likable actor / character is Dan Fogler as Kowalski, because honestly, this is the only character who actually has a semblance of a character and a likability, and his personality is very lovely. He's a very lovely man, and I will tell as the only Muggle in these stories, he's kind of like the viewer's surrogate. He kind of served that purpose in the first movie, and honestly, I wish that his arc just ended in the first movie, but they decided to expand it all these things, in which it was felt unnecessary, but still. He's kind of like the only one that has some semblance of likability out of it. They also brought a lot of actors. They come back, but sometimes I don't remember if they were there. They brought up this this woman. What was the name of this actress? You know what? I'm not gonna go too much into it. But there's this professor that is kind of like a vision on the dark art, and honestly, she was badass. She was badass. Not exactly kind of like kind of like big thing, but she just comes out like an excellent character. Also, there's kind of like a character that was in the previous two movies that in the third movie they kind of gave out an excuse saying that why she's not there? She's just doing some other stuff. Although she does return as a cameo at the end of the movie, so I might look like I'm spoiling, but not much. And of course, let's go with the elephant in the room, the guy who replaced Johnny Depp, which is Mads Mikkelsen. Many people say that he's doing a great performance and all these things. I disagree. I disagree because honestly, this is one of those moments in which I was like, I was like, you know what? I don't like Johnny Depp when he overacts or acts whimsical, but honestly, I think I wanted. This is one of the few times that I was like wanting Johnny Depp to be there and just overacts in order to, you know, at least. Let's say that memorable, but at least it called my attention because that guy. I know, they wanted to make him kind of like a calculated guy. Very calculated, he just wants to rally wizards in order to go against muggles. And it doesn't help that it doesn't help that, of course, they make him kind of like Germany illusions because he convinces the Ministry of Germany, and then he rallies all these people from Germany. He even has, you know, his own symbol that, gee, what does it look like? I'm not even going to say it because you know historically what it looks like. And I don't know if they intentionally made his hair look like some fat dude who had some $1 million and was and even had a position of power. I don't know. Was that coincidence? I'm not gonna go exactly into that, but honestly, the more I think about it, probably there was something. And yeah, they wanted to there was kind of like this relationship with Dumbledore, but it falls really flat. Honestly, all these relationships that come, you know, then Ezra Miller with the Dumbledore character and all these things, falls flat. And I was like, these characters, it felt so flat that I don't even feel or care about them. Honestly, only Eddie Redmayne and Jacob, what was Dan Fogler's, you know, as Newt Scamander and Jacob Kowalski were the only character who I felt like there's a semblance of like ability into it. The poor Newt Scamander. If only they could make movies with him that he interact with more animals. I mean, if anime that resolve on animals like Toriko or Hunter x Hunter does kind of like, or even One Piece does a better job involving humans interacting with creative animals. I think they do need to work harder and more animal specific on this. I mean, he's a magical zoologist. Take advantage of that. Cinematography, again, like I said, I'm not exactly a fan. I mean, the camera is shot well, I'm gonna say this, and the magic, I wish I could say spectacular, but it wouldn't be, I would love to call it spectacular if it wasn't marred by the murky, dark tones that the movie has, and this kind of sucks the magic out of it. If there was kind of like a need for some bright colors, and when it involves magic, that could have been the perfect opportunity. And I'm not technically saying that every time that you shouldn't do it every time. I mean, it was a good deal, but sometimes if you're a magician, some magicians are how can I say, they're usually show off. Let's say magicians likes to show off. No intent if that sounds like a stereotype, but still they show off. Their brightness, and it kind of comes into their advantage because it calls their attention. So honestly, it didn't work. Ever since, you know, when the Harry Potter movies, it kind of used this dark tones. The movies felt like it's too grim. I know that it wanted to be grim and for storytelling wise, but not exactly is like that all the time. Take for example One Piece too. One Piece is very bright and colorful and even goofy, but it's also not afraid of being dark when darkness comes. So you can have two things, you know, very bright, but at the same time very dark. Okay, now I go with some elements. There's some elements that I was gonna mention that that call my attention. First of all, I know for the I'm gonna warn you a little bit that this movie has some dark elements, I'll say. And if you have children, I will say, well, you gotta think twice, because I'm gonna warn you, because there's a little bit of Bambi material in it. You know, there's mother chilling that gets killed, and then a newborn chilling gets bring to Grindelwald, and since he's a dark necromancer that he needs blood and a corpse, he slices the throat of this baby chilling, and that's very dark, I gotta admit. I've heard a review that some children cried out of it, but honestly, I wouldn't mind, because what do you expect from a dark magician, a dark ritualistic magician? This is kind of like their specialty, I'll say. That's part of necromancy. Even Shaman King has dark stuff, I'll say. And so, honestly, this is a little bit more of kind of like a warning more than a nitpick. What else that there is? I really wanted to mention that probably, while this movie was really underwhelmingly boring, the closest thing to have it being a little bit funny, but at the same time it's also dark, is when when Newt was gonna rescue his brother from the dungeon, and it's kind of like a dungeon that is not exactly like Azkaban. Actually, now that I think about it, probably that part is worse, no matter how much you say it. In which it's basically kind of like this underground dungeon, in which it's filled with these kind of like this small crab scorpion creatures that they kind of look like the crab people from South Park. And honestly, I kind of gave kind of like a chuckle, and even the audience kind of laughed when Newt kind of begins to, tame them by posing like this. Yeah, ridiculous. But that's not all. In the center of this dungeon, there's kind of like this deep abyss in which there's this giant scorpion that dwells at the bottom. We don't see it, but apparently this dungeon slash prison, it works that every prisoner or anyone who is in that prison, they are granted with a kind of like a lantern with a firefly. But if that firefly dies, then the scorpion apparently it detects that there's no danger and uses its giant tail to stab the victim where the firefly died and everything, and it drags them into the abyss to eat their flesh out and spit out their bones, acidic bones, and then the creatures eat it. That's very dark, I'll say. But still, man, that if there could be more creatures than this, instead of keeping just one or two creatures per movie. I mean, they have, of course, I get a laugh on this, but it was kind of like a desperate laugh, I must say. And yeah, there's most of the stuff that I was looking that was trying to put the pieces together of where the movie come from. I was getting a little bit of a hard time, because again, aspect from even the last movie just felt forgotten. I even struggle myself, trying to remember bits and pieces out of it, but at the same time I was like, this is going too long. It's kind of like a big giant setup. I'll say that it feels like there's not enough stuff, and even the magic, it feels kind of like, I don't know. There is how can I say, we got, of course, a climax that involved kind of like a heist movie involving 5 suitcases. That was probably the only one of the few moments in which the movie picks up, but I kind of wish that it done a little bit more. Although there were some moments, to be fair to the movie, there were some moments that were like, okay, that looks like a spectacle. There's kind of like the dinner table scene in which they prevent the assassination, Grindelwald's assassination. much about it, and I feel like that I'm gonna forget this movie the more I find it. But in the meantime, people just there are some people saying that yeah, this is going into the right direction. This is better than the second movie. I disagree. I'm not. I found this movie really lifeless, boring, and again unpassionate. Everything about this movie feels like nobody wanted to do with it. I don't know. And is it because of the whole behind the scenes struggles that has been going on? Is it because of the J.K. Rowling thing, is the Ezra Miller thing, or the Johnny Depp thing that again, it might not be exactly what affected the movie. Because honestly, I'm one of those that in some cases I can separate the art from the artist. But still, it's these elements that probably in the public eyes it is technically damaging. So personally, I wasn't a fan of this, and it kind of felt very risky that this movie then begins to ask for 2 more movies after this. Yeah, 2 more movies, even though this was the perfect opportunity to end it. Make it a trilogy, not a quintology. This was a perfect opportunity, and you didn't. You didn't do it. You didn't do it. So what are we gonna do? You got Ezra Miller, in hot water, and probably you're gonna replace Matt Mikkelsen. If they do that, I'm gonna still believe that probably Grindelwald is a master in disguise. Honestly, the more I talk about it, this movie is technically draining out. So I am not exactly the correct voucher to recommend this movie. If you're kind of like a casual movie goer, this is a no-go. This is totally a no-go. Maybe you could watch better movies like I wish I could say Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Although, yeah, like I said, I really like that movie, but James Marsden basically ruins it. There's another movie that slipped out of my radar. It's about this. It's this woman that can travel towards multiple dimensions. The movie slipped out of my head. It's a title. It's a long title, I'll say. So this one, not exactly, but for people that wants to complete or be immersed into the Potter universe, you could check it out at least as a rental, and there's no hurry to it. Or if you want, you could check it out. But I still not guarantee that you're gonna feel really great about this experience. Or maybe you do. Again, some people, they say that it's better than the last movie, even though I kindly disagree. They're kind of like at the same level, at least in my eyes. But in the meantime, yeah, we got another movie coming out. But considering the things that are going with the franchise and a lot of things are not looking so fantastic.